Welcome to Lykken on Lending, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of the mortgage industry. Your host, David Lykken, bringing you the latest insights, trends, and updates from the world of mortgages. Whether you're a seasoned industry veteran or just getting started, this show is your go-to source for all things mortgage. Let's get started. This is Lykken on Lending. Now your host, David Lykken.
Listeners, we're back with Pavan Agarwal on a very popular, growing popular AI Update podcast. Pavan, good to have you back, friend.
Good to be here.
Last week, you spoke at the AI4 conference, the largest AI conference, I think, in the world, at least in the United States, but possibly in the world. You spoke at it. You were one of the keynote speakers there. Could you tell us a little about and bring us an update for that conference?
Yeah, super exciting. And it was a great conference. I ended up on, I was on your podcast the morning of.
Yeah.
And then I was on two podcasts during the conference, two major, huge podcasts. One's the Sean Kelly podcast, and one is, I can't remember the name of the podcast, but it's the number one podcast on for tech on the Apple podcast. It's even bigger than the All In podcast, which is amazing. Yeah. And I connected you with Shaker, who owns that podcast.
Can't wait to do something with that. Yeah, we'll be following up with that.
Yeah. And then I was speaking. We had our general, part of the general session, and I was talking about how we're using AI and AI agents. And obviously, you know, we invented AI agents back in 2012. We call them cells, and that's why the company's called Celligence.
Celligence, yeah.
Right. Yeah. You have AI cells that run autonomously and execute complex tasks. Okay. And the whole conference we're really talking about AI agents. So many startups doing something with AI agents. And it is because why it's the thing now. It's this stuff that I've been talking about for 7 years and been trying to get the industry to understand that. Why are you spending all this money buying software that doesn't run itself, right? You buy some LOS or some CRM or whatever, and then you have to hire people to administer it, manage it, and then other people who do data entry in it. Okay. And just so that you get some simple output, like a form or something like that, right? You spend all this money in overhead just to simply get some output and some calculations, right? And it's such an expensive process to achieve that when you can just simply say, hey, process my loan. And that's it. It's done, right? And let the AI do all of that. And you don't need all those screens and forms and web pages and all that all you need is a single command, process my loan.
Yeah. I mean, you shared briefly about what the conference was about. We did to get to hear what you were talking about. What were some of the talking points that got a lot of attention when you spoke, Pavan?
Yeah. Again, we talked a lot about AI agents.
Yep.
And since we were invited to the conference because we're literally the first in the field, and we've had so much experience doing it, and others are catching up. So, translating that experience into what does that mean to the real world? What does that mean what's the advice for people who are getting into it now? The second, and the big topic was fair lending and our impact that AI has made for fair lending. This was a fireside chat with a senior Forbes reporter. And so Forbes was very interested in the real world impact of AI. And that's one of the things that was also a hot topic is there isn't enough, I would say hardly any real world economic impact, right? Like there isn't any products out there, any solutions where you can say, yeah, AI made a real change here, right? AI has made a real difference in this part of the economy. Obviously, in the data center economy, it's made a big difference, which is good. I mean, we're now becoming the number one chip manufacturer again. We're becoming the number one, data center country in the world again. All these things, building all this infrastructure, energy infrastructure, which is all creating jobs, which is laying down the foundation for a competitive future, a competitive America, right? Like at the Industrial Revolution, if you were a country without steam engines, you were toast, right? You wouldn't have survived the 20th century if you didn't invest in building steam engines, right? And in the 21st century, if you don't invest in building AI infrastructure and data centers, it's the same thing. I mean, you're toast. You're going to get left behind. So, but this is an actual product where right now, today, you can look at a very large section of the economy and say, hey, this is this has moved that industry. This has touched hundreds of thousands of people, and it's moved that industry and Main Street America. Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Main Street America has seen a direct benefit from this product, right? It's not something that's nebulous, not something that's well, build it and then you'll see. Let's go invest $100 billion and build all this massive data center factory, and then you're going to get the results. No, we're actually deliver the results today. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of the conversation. And and I met with one of the senior Google engineers there, one of the top engineers in Google DeepMind, and he explained that the big thing now in AI, the next big thing, I should say, the current big thing is agents. The next big thing in AI is trust. It's like everyone's out trying to solve the trust problem. How to get reliable, trustworthy AI. And I told him, I'm like, dude, we solved that 7 years ago. Go look for our white papers, right? So we're literally the only AI and we scanned the whole conference. Nobody's got an AI solution that comes with a warranty that says, if the agent does X, Y, Z, we're warranted that did it right. Everybody's coming up with agents to say, this agent will do this and this for you. But he asked the next question, well, what if it did it wrong? Are you going to stand behind it? What if it transferred the wrong amount of money from my bank account? What if it balanced my checkbook incorrectly? Right. And they don't have an answer to that.
Well, this is a good segue. You talked about white papers. A lot of your white papers, if not all your white papers, are on your angelai.com website. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. angelai.com/white paper.
White paper. And you'll go find all that Pavan has published. And the fact that he's speaking at the #1 AI conference in the world in Las Vegas and a keynote there, being highly recognized. I encourage you to read those as you're getting the strategy. Pavan, you recently forwarded me a Wall Street Journal article that says, Facing AI Apocalypse. Once hot software companies raced to reinvent themselves. Really interesting. And it's about Shahil Agarwal. He spells it with 2 G's. If it was you, it'd do 1. But he says it's really, and I was just riveted by this article because SaaS, software as a service, is at risk in a major way. In fact, I want you to talk about the article. It was an eye-opener. And I'm thinking about a number of core systems that the vast majority of mortgage lenders are using today.
Yeah.
Are at risk.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the same thing as when the internet came out and everyone could access information freely through your web browser, right? The old DOS, and any company that was building old DOS-based software was over, right? They maybe had another, 6 months, year left, but they were done, right? And we saw the same thing as the new economy, back in the 90s, they called the internet the new economy. The new economy companies were going like this, and the old economy companies were crashing, and we're seeing the same thing here, right? The new economy now is the AI economy, AI companies. We're all skyrocketing. Because we could do in an hour what the old tech companies were taking months to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's fascinating because in the first paragraph, he talked about how his company Rattle, which he raised $30 million from investors. It then got valued at over $100 million, doing really well. And within a short period of time, because of generative AI, it was basically worthless. And he said in here, if 2 engineers can reproduce your entire product in a matter of a few weeks, then you deserve to be killed. That is quite a statement from someone who's in the industry and pretty sharp dude.
Yeah. And so that means you're no longer building tech to do the basic blocking and tackling, collecting information, processing. Like no typical tech companies is you write software to collect information, process it in some way, transform the information, right? And output new information, right? Collect, transform, output, right? Now, and so you have all these engineers hand wiring those 3 steps, correct? So, right, but what I just explained there, take information, transform it, and output new information. That is what generative AI is. That's what they call transformers, right? So basically, all of that's happening automatically by an AI engine. Okay, so the whatever you're building is no longer necessary, and an AI engine can because it's an automatic engine. You can collect anything, transform it into anything, and output anything you want. whenever you want and however you want. So there's no need to go back and hardwire these connections. And like let's say you collect information for a 1003, and then you want to you collect that, you transform it, and you output a 1003 form, right? And then you collect it, you transform it, and you output a closing statement, right? Okay, so that all that software code that's written out there to do those steps, right? That an AI can just do it with a single command. Why would you write all that code to do those things when AI can just do it?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's a great point.
so right, and you could just have ChatGPT generate a 1003, generate a closing statement, or generate whatever, right? So the challenge is that in the mortgage industry, the LOS systems, those LOS companies that spend so many years and so many engineers making these very delicate systems that are hard to maintain, and anybody who owns these systems, they have an army of people that just configure and maintain. Every time a new rule comes out, a new regulation comes out, oh no, we got to spend another year doing an upgrade and spending millions of dollars on maintaining these things, right? That's just over. You don't need them anymore.
Yeah, again, to repeat his statement, if two engineers can reproduce your entire product in a matter of a few weeks, then you deserve to be killed. I mean, think about it. I mean, we now have with generative AI the ability to reproduce, because of these agents, recreate an entire product. That is what there's patents around some of this. You have how many? 40-some patents, Pavan?
140 patents.
140 patents. You already have 140 patents. So you're protecting yourself. But as you're developing your AI, you are possibly, I mean, one of the things when we did the interview about UWM on Friday, you and I rallied together and got some comments out. And I really appreciated your attitude, because you said, I don't wish ill on UWM or at anybody going through a difficult experience. You said it raised more questions than what was being offered up publicly by the company as statements, but you handled it well. So where no one's wishing harm, you didn't create Angel AI or as a product to destroy other companies. You just saw this is the future, and you saw that 20 some years ago and have been building to it, even though computation power did not catch up for a long, long time. Finally, it did. And you were in position. And again, I think you have more than two engineers, but you're going to be killing a lot of big companies and this whole thing. And it's happening. It's going to happen. The generative AI is steamrolling the once booming industry of software as a service. And I see your company doing that. And again, that's not your motive, but if it's there and it's an opportunity, why not capitalize it? And you have.
Yeah, exactly. And on Monday, we got a new release coming out. It's called Sena, S-E-N-A. And you just go to angelai.com/Sena, S-E-N-A. And you can see all the new capabilities it has, because we've integrated with OpenClaw and fired up, hundreds of new agents inside Angel AI, just general purpose agents. So literally everything that you would normally do with a CRM system, with whatever project management system, with this system, that system, right? You just give it a command now, it just does it. It is. And what we did, what's interesting is we're the only ones to figure this out. We're the only ones who can do this, is we've integrated our TLM, transactional language model. That's our proprietary AI engine, and it's patented, with general purpose agents. So you get the reliability and the warranty of the TLM, and you get the flexibility of any AI agent that's out there in the universe. And the two merge together, right? And it's amazing. I was playing around with it yesterday. I was doing some really ridiculously cool things, right? So the on Mondays want to do, you just do, right? You just ask and it'll do, right? It's the same thing. I've been saying this for years for brokers and real estate agents, that they're saying, well, how do I use Angel AI? Well, just go in there and ask what you want, right? You have to have imagination. Ask what you want and I'll do it. And a lot of people resist that. But a lot of people went in and said, "Oh my God, this is incredible!" Right? So we saw like a 20% jump right into it and loved it, and the 80% are resisting it, like it's feeling threatened by it. Okay, but guess what, folks? It's too late, right? If you're still threatened by it, and if you're still resisting it, it's like everything else around you has changed so fast. Okay, you're literally going to be out of business. Like you. This is a warning, wake-up call. Don't resist it, right? It's a new way of doing your work, right? Instead of being very good at, I love to use the the carpenter example. If you're a carpenter and you've always used a manual wood saw, right, and you could be really good at cutting wood, right, and getting it exactly right and at the right angle and all that, because you're just an expert at the wood saw. Okay, and then the carpenter next door is using electric saw. There's no comparison. He's going to produce 10 times as much product at a fraction of the cost than you're going to do. It's just what it is. So don't be so proud of that. Look how good I am with this manual saw, right? Because and hold on to that. No, learn to use the electric saw and focus on the end product. The end product is the beautiful cabinet that you're making, not how you cut the wood, right? And I'm seeing this with loan originators and
Good point to bring.
and operations people in this industry. They're so focused on, I'm so good at cutting the wood, right? And that doesn't matter. The customer doesn't care how good you are at cutting the wood. The customer just wants his product, and he wants it fast, and he wants it low cost, right? And we're our warehouse lenders and our investors are like, how in the world? They look at our pricing, and our pricing is near the top, and they look at our P&Ls and you guys are making money, right? Like real money, and they're like, how in the world are you doing this? And I'm like, because our operations costs are below $125,
Yeah.
right? Whereas, per loan, whereas the industry's at $5,000 a loan,
I know.
right? And $5,000 loan on an average loan amount, if you take a generous average loan amount of $500,000 in California, you're losing a point in operations costs. And in this business, especially in this environment, you're lucky if your margins are a point. Right. So all these companies are running underwater. That's why you have so much red ink in this industry.
Yeah, that's so true. One of the things that was said in this article was startups are faltering because demand is shifting from tools that help people get work done to AI agents that do the work people are doing. And that is really what you're talking about here. In a recent, in fact, it was in an article that got published by National Mortgage Professional. Great publication. We'll put a link to that article, folks. That got published, I believe it was yesterday, or at least in the last few days. You talked about you were on a panel, I think, and it was the article written about you being on a panel. And it was basically, there's another gentleman there that is moved over and starting to use Angel AI. And the big fear that when he started using it is the processors, the LPAs, the people that are supporting him stopped getting calls about the loans that he was originating. And if I recall the story correctly, and that they became worried that they're going to be out of work, without a job. The best part of that article was how he redeployed them. Some of them were licensed. Some of them are originating. Some of them are now making 3 times as much money as they were in their previous role because the AI agents that they're using with what you're doing through Angel AI, they got set free to do the thing that allows them to make more money and honestly have more fun.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's an interesting story. He explained, I think he met us back in April, right? So just 4 months ago. I mean, we met earlier, and I was telling him about Angel AI, you got to get into it and all of these things. And this kind of thing, well, maybe. And then finally, the last time he talked to us, it was in April, and he said he started then on his flight home for 4 hours on his flight, he started playing with it. And by the time he landed, he was completely like, oh my God, this is going to change my whole company. It was like he would spend the whole flight playing with the tech and doing stuff on it. And then as soon as he landed, it's like he rewrote the whole company, right? But it was, I think, prior to that, I think that I met him the first time, at least a year earlier at the grand opening of Realty of America in Chicago, right? And I told him about it then. I told that, there was other events in between. He came to a number of mindsets in between, and he kept hearing about it, seeing it, wasn't really sure what to do. Then he just dove right in. And that's the best advice I can give to people watching. Don't try to delegate this out to your team, right? All the leaders that are watching this, don't try to delegate AI out to your team, to your CTO, to your operations officer or whatever, because this requires vision. This requires a plan. This is a CEO level decision. This is strategy and direction of your company. And if you delegate this out, you cannot delegate strategy and direction, right? That is your job as CEO. You got to make those decisions.
Wow. Well, there's so many listeners. I really encourage you to read this Wall Street Journal article and go back and listen. We're going to put a lot of links in here. Follow up on this. Maybe become a student of this, because this article says if you're not AI first, you're having a really hard time fundraising. If you're needing to raise funds, you're just not going to be able to do so. And sometimes it's easier to start a SaaS. It's easier to shut down a SaaS company and just restart it. I'm wondering if we're going to see that, or are companies like you, at least in the mortgage space, so far ahead that it's going to be very difficult for them to do so.
Yep. And last thing I'll close with is Angel AI is open access, available to everyone, and it literally replaces your LOS. You do not need your LOS.
You don't need it. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Again, because behind Angel AI, I mean, you see it as a single product, but behind it is millions of AI agents. We call them cells, but millions of AI agents doing all kinds of everything you want. And it's just command based. You say, I want this, and it does it. Right. And that's why, I was kind of inspired by the movie The Devil Wears Prada. I remember that movie with Glenn Close and Anne Hathaway. Right. And I just loved it how Glenn Close, just that fire breathing manager saying, monkey, get me this, a monkey, get me that. Right. Right. And Anne Hathaway is running these errands for her all day long. Whatever she wants, she's going and getting it for her, right? That was her AI with Anne Hathaway, right? And that's why we say you send Angel AI on an errand, and Angel AI will then, because you send her on an errand, she's going to go run and do it. And all she's really doing behind the scenes is firing out one of these cells and the appropriate cell and getting you whatever you want, right? You're in the command seat when you're running the Angel AI app. You're not filling in a 1003 form. You're not filling in, a CD or something like that. You're just saying, I want this, right? You got to change your mindset, right? It goes from being mechanical and a woodcutter, right, to being a visionary and a commander. You're in command. You send the directions. I want this, and it happens. You no longer get into the weeds of how it happens. And as we work with so many mortgage brokers and originators and so forth, that it's very hard for them to want to make that shift in their minds. And those who have made that shift, and their production is exploding.
Yeah, it's really true. I'm talking to more and more of them at the Mindset Summit events that you're sponsoring, and what Sam is putting up there. I mean, they're really, you got to get to these events. I'll put links, folks, to the future ones that are coming up. Big one coming up in Las Vegas in November. Encourage people to be coming to that one as well. Pavan, thank you so much. Always good to connect with you. Good to see you back home in San Juan, Puerto Rico area. And
I'm only home for like 3 days, and Sunday morning I got an early morning flight to El Salvador.
El Salvador. I know you got some exciting things going on there. Well, I appreciate all the updates you're giving to our audience through this channel. Thank you so much, Pavan. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you, David.
You bet. Thank you. Folks, that wraps up this latest AI update with Pavan Agarwal. A lot of great information in here. And be sure to check out the links in the show notes. Now, you can go to, most of you are listening to this on one of the channels like iTunes or wherever, Spotify. But go to our website, Lykken on Lending, and go check out the show notes, because we're putting links to very important articles, links to information that we want you to have. It's not an option anymore. This is not a hobby. AI. Should we have an AI strategy? You've got to have one, or you're going to be dead. You're going to be finding yourself behind and trying to recover. It's moving so quickly. It's not something that you have to be, you can afford to ignore. You have to get into this. So that's why we're providing these updates. I hope you're enjoying them. This one has been brought to you again by Angel AI, who is again our sponsor of the podcast overall, also the #1 sponsor of the AI update. Thanks for being here. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Look forward to seeing you back on one of the next podcasts. Thank you.
You've been listening to Lykken on Lending. Our passion is to bring you the latest insights, trends, and updates from the world of mortgages. So on this show, if you're a seasoned industry veteran or just getting started, it's your go-to source for all things mortgage. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Lykken on Lending.